Welcome to My Spoonie Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoonie Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoonie sisters. I'm Jenny Weaver, otherwise known as Gracefully Jen. And, well, if I'm going to do this podcast, shouldn't I share a little bit about me as well? So let's start with this. Spoonie is a term coined by Christine Miser-Andino, and she's a chronic illness blogger who used spoons to demonstrate how much energy a person with a chronic illness has each day and how much is used up doing simple tasks such as showering or eating breakfast. Now, if you are already familiar with the Spoonie world, you may have noticed it comes with its own language. So you're going to hear a lot of these kind of terms. But let's get back to what I came here for, to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Jenny. I grew up in southern Idaho in a little town called Pocatello, and I made my way over to Washington State. So I'm now in the area called Tri-Cities. But as a kid, I was athletic and I was creative. I ran track. I tried doing dance for a while. I even did a little bit of gymnastics. I played the piano. I played the violin. I enjoyed a lot of rollerblading, mountain biking with my family. We even did races. In fact, one time there was a race that I was participating in and there were no other girls. So I had to race against boys. And guess what? At 10 years old, I won. So I moved to northern Idaho when I was 19. And I had my daughter just before my 20th birthday. And at the time, I still lived what felt like a seemingly normal life, but everything began to change in my mid to late 20s as I suffered from problems with endometriosis and kidney stones, and then came the chronic joint pain. So I met my first rheumatologist in a city called Spokane, Washington, back in 2011. And after several experiences that I wasn't too fond of with him, he wasn't diagnosing me, but he kept treating me with things that were giving me allergic reactions. So I tried all these different disease-modifying drugs, and I just felt like he wasn't helping me. So finally, after deciding, okay, you're not taking me seriously, I'm switching. I found a rheumatologist more local to me, and I was diagnosed fairly quickly. We hit it hard with treatments. My inflammation was out of control. My hands were just cringing in pain all the time. My knee was causing so many fits that it was causing me to do a lot of limping. So she began a combo of disease modifiers and infusions. And at the time, we just weren't finding any progress. So I was on a combination of methotrexate and Orencia. And this was just not a fit for me. So then we moved on to the next one and the next one. So my first infusions, they didn't seem to do anything for me at all. We finally landed on one that changed my life. I hit remission and I felt energized, strong, and like I didn't even have an autoimmune disease at all. But that was short-lived. It was called Actemra, and, well, it may cause you to have a lower number of certain white blood cells that help fight infection. So my white blood count continued to drop, and after months of it, he decided to, or she, I saw both a rheumatologist and a PA, but together, they decided to take me off of the TNF inhibitor. And take me off of it and try a TNF inhibitor. So approximately 3 months into it, I began getting sores all over my body, from my head all the way down to my toes. I ended up going to urgent care because we actually thought I got some kind of infection. And it turned out it wasn't an infection at all, but they were treating it like it was. So after seeing the urgent care doctor, I went in to see my rheumatologist for my infusion. And I told her what was going on with me because, every time you go in there, they ask, anything new? Have you had to go to the hospital? Any urgent care visits? Blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, I did. And I showed her what was going on with my skin. And she said, I'm pretty sure I know what this is. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, you're scaring me. And she told me, hold on a minute. And she went and grabbed another one of the specialists and brought him in. And they took a look and they kind of whispered to each other, and they both looked at me and they said, you are having an allergic reaction to the TNF inhibitor. We're going to have to take you off of it immediately. And we need to hit this hard with treatments to fix your skin. So what they were talking about was I had an allergic reaction to the TNF inhibitor causing pustular psoriasis, medically induced. It's super rare, and she was hopeful that it was not the classification of drugs. She was hoping it was just this one particular medication. So we went on, and we tried another one, and it was also a TNF inhibitor, and it happened again. Just when they were getting my skin under control, it happens. And I go to see her again, and I said, they're coming back. And she sat me down and she said, okay, honey, I'm really sorry, but unfortunately, it's got to be a classification issue. You were allergic to TNF inhibitors. We're going to have to take you off of it. And my bad news for you is you're probably going to have this for the rest of your life now. Because once you're medically induced like that over and over, it just affects your body in such a way that causes this to be another autoimmune disease problem. So now I have a secondary diagnosis because of this medically induced reaction. I don't blame my doctors because they're doing the best they can to help me, right? And that's exactly what I've asked them to do. And it took several painful months to find treatments that worked for my skin. They sent me to a dermatologist, and everything that they tried for me, it didn't work. So I have quite a few scars, and we have a very carefully cared treatment plan, but I still fight. I fight every day. I fight for remission again. I fight for my skin to feel like my skin again. Because we can do hard things. And a sweet friend of mine, her name is Barbara, and she passed away just a few months ago. She was, I think, in her early 90s. And this sweet friend of mine, I remember several years ago, we were talking about my problems, and she had similar conditions to worry about. She said, as we age, you use it or you lose it. And she said, I see these people, I see them going into these homes. They're aging, and they're not moving their bodies, and they're not using what they have. And she said, I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm going to use it because I don't want to lose it. And I truly believe that not only is she such an inspiration to me, and I'm so glad to have met her, but that's exactly why she lived such an amazing life. She was that 80-some-year-old woman that people saw ziplining. That's the kind of person I want to be, and that's what I strive for. So that's my Spoonie story in a nutshell. That's the short version. But I want to hear about you. I don't want to hear just about me. And I want to hear what makes you click. Tick. What makes you tick? What makes you who you are? Do you fight depression along with your autoimmune problems? Do you suffer from anxiety, and how do you deal with it? And I'm probably going to share a little bit about that too. But for now, this is all you get from me. So, join me next time, and don't forget your spoon. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.